enough in the year to make this a year in which we work for tolerance. When I say the word lesbian, what pops into your mind? Well, my guests say probably a woman. She's wearing a flannel shirt, jeans, big work boots. Okay? That's because we do live in a world filled with stereotypes. Today's guests say that they feel they break that lesbian stereotype, if indeed it really does exist. Meet Alexis. She is a former model. She is a mother of two. And Suzanne, she is a stand-up comedian who performs lesbian humor in straight clubs. I have to ask her about that. Now, are most people surprised when you start talking about being... If you do lesbian jokes and then you say I'm a lesbian, does that kind of still do that to them, make them jolt back?
The initial response is such silence.
Really?
Well, first, you know, sometimes, too, they laugh. They think it's part of my joke that I'm just saying that to be funny. You know, that's going to be my opening joke.
I'm a
Isn't that
lesbian,
funny?
and then everyone goes, ha, 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 ha. Okay.
And then I start in with the lesbian humor, and they go, hey, she's not kidding. she's gay. And they don't think I look it. That's the number one thing. Number one thing. Oh, you don't look like a lesbian. And I resent that because lesbians and homosexuals are everywhere in the world, every culture. I've had people say to me, oh, there's no Muslim gay people. Yes, there are. There are gay people who are whatever, no matter what. They may not be out, they may not acknowledge it, they may repress it, they may look different, right? But unlike where you can say there are black people from certain countries or whatever, you can acknowledge and you can say, oh, I can tell a person is black because they're black. That's usually the first thing. Gay people are everywhere. We're like gold Visa cards. We're every place you want to be. Oh, I can't believe I got that in. That was great.
What about you?
The thing is, I just feel that if the people in general would just look at gay people as people, I mean, the whole thing is, oh, well, you know, she's a lesbian. You know, we didn't know that yesterday, but since we know it today, you know, we better stay away from her because, I mean, after all, she may try to come on to us, you know, in the lunchroom, or she may sneak up behind us at the microwave, or, you know, and if we let her, you know, babysit for our children, God forbid, I mean, who knows?
What could happen?
You know, what could happen? Or she may promote that, you know, and if I have a teenage daughter and they go over to her house and visit with her kids, then maybe she'll get to be like them, too. You know, and it's not about that. I mean, it's just about being who you are. And I think, too, that people just are not educated enough to the word homosexuality. It doesn't have to be this perverse thing that people think, you know, all this group sex, and oh, I know what they do, you know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing. But it's true. I just think that the more educated that people can become, the more comfortable that you'll be with the whole idea, and it'll just be a matter of, so what, she's a lesbian. You know, I really like her as a person. Isn't that what it's about? Isn't it about liking me for who I am? Just because I sleep with a woman that I happen to love more than anything in conjunction with my children, that's the way I want to be known. I don't want to be labeled. You know, I'm not going to walk up to you and say, oh, Mrs. Smith, you know, I'm so happy you're heterosexual. You know? That's just not where it is. I mean, for me, I don't want to speak for, you know, lesbians across the United States, but for me, and if I'm out here on national TV and lucky enough to be on your show, this is what I want to portray. I want to portray people being people.
I'll speak for lesbians across the United
Go
States.
for it.
Starting with you,
yes.
Would you say that you have two children? Do you work?
Yes, I do. I work full-time.
Okay. The body of your life, 99% of it, would it be like anybody who is watching us now who's a working mother? There's nothing unusual about...
I do the laundry, I pick up those dirty clothes, get your sneakers off the floor, you know, clean up that mess. You didn't take the dishes and put them in the dishwasher. Thanks a lot, you guys. I mean, that kind of thing.
So you're undistinguishable in anything you do with your life?
Exactly. The only thing that makes me different is that I sleep with a woman. That's it. I mean, I don't dress with chains hanging from me and jeans, you know. That's okay, but that's not me. And that I don't want that to label me. Oh, well, you know, she's not stereotypic lesbian because she doesn't have the flannel shirt and the jeans and the chain and the wallet in the back pocket. I'm sorry, I don't do wallets in the back pocket, you know. Hate it.
So 90... I can see you making the point that 99% of your day is a day like anyone else's day, and those couple of hours in the bedroom at night that's what's different, and everything else is the same.
I go to work every day.
There's no coming on to other women in general during the day. There's no hidden thing of looking for little girls.
No.
I mean, you know, I'm trying to help you out with what those stereotypes are. Okay, where did the stereotypes come from? Well, I can tell from a talk show point of view. You feel free to say they come from the media.
I think the media does a great injustice to the homosexuality in general. You know, I've seen many talk shows where the women that come on there, I couldn't tell they were a woman. I'm sorry. I mean, I just couldn't tell. And also, you know, it seems like the media will bring on people that are these real, total headbanging activists, where if you are just not politically correct, you are just out there somewhere. I'm sorry.
Oftentimes, the fringe people, the stereotype people, are the people that speak for any group anyway.
Yes,
I think, the good part is they move us along. You know what I mean? They are the ones that get on TV and start things off. But we have to remember that it doesn't mean that then represents that group totally. Just because they're the activists does not mean that then they represent all of any group, especially with gays, because gays are like everywhere. And there's all kinds and ages and religions and, I was going to say sexes of gays. Like, I guess there's just two, pretty much, like with everyone else.
But the other thing, too, is that when the media becomes involved, where are the positive things that they project?
Yes.
Zero.
Yes.
I mean, they're just, you know, it's let's bring them on and show how they are going to try to be artificially inseminated. Let's try that.
Which is already so unusual, even for straight people. I mean, that's just sort of an unusual, it's kind of out there, you know, and that's the... So people are already going, oh, artificial insemination, that's kind of unusual. And then you get gay women who are being artificially inseminated, then get black militant gay women who are being artificially inseminated. And pretty soon, then that's people in, my mother who turns on the TV, and then I come out and I say, Mom, I'm gay, and she's like,
oh, one of those.
Well, wait, you don't look like her, and does this mean you're going to, she actually asked me, does this mean you're going to dress like a man?
Your mother asked you?
Yes.
All right. A lot of what you're saying, if something is not in the mainstream, is probably justified. This show is 8 years old, and I've been watching the stereotype, and fighting against what I think is the stereotyping of anything for 8 years. When we decide to do a show, and it is an issue that's gay, if it's an issue that's Italian, we would call Italian Men's Club. If it's an issue that's Democrat, we'd call Democratic National Coalition. I'm making these names up, I'm hoping. And if it's gay, we call Gay Alliance, so forth. What people they send us is what we can't call back and say, hi, Gay Alliance, boy, they look a little dykey. Will you please take these people back, because we don't want to do stereotypes, so we'd like some with long blonde hair. That would be out of place. And although we've commented among ourselves, I think there's another reason why sometimes it's important to have a look, just as an afro might be a look that makes a statement about being black. So I'm not so sure that there isn't a lesson to be learned in that.
I think...
What are the responses from men to you? You're in a club, people are drinking, they're having a wonderful time, and what happens afterwards?
They ask me out.
And when they ask you out, do you go out?
No.
Why would you?
Do you go out with women if they ask you out?
Yes. Yes. No. You just asked me if I went out with women if they asked me out. Yes. And I would go out with gays because mine is an interest in friendship, and going out is fine, and so...
But if a straight man asks me out with the intention of a romantic date, I mean, I absolutely say no, and I always tell them I'm gay. And then the funniest thing they do is, oh, well, hey, if you didn't want to go out with me, couldn't you have just said no? Like I'm making that up as a way to quietly reject them, you know. And then once they believe it, then there's also that kind of, oh, really? Can I watch sort of thing? That's a very bizarre thing. From? The #1 sexual fantasy for men is to be involved with 2 women or to watch 2 women. Isn't that odd? Because the reverse is not true. Think about that.
The #1 sexual fantasy of women is not to watch 2 men. But the #1 sexual fantasy of men is to watch 2 women. Sure so if you're gay, they're hoping you'll let them watch you make love.
Well, people assume if you're gay, first of all, that somehow your sexuality is your entire personality. And that means that you're either one or the other. With lesbians, it's almost like, well, we don't have sex. You know, because they don't know what we do, so obviously we're not having it. You know, and they don't want to picture it. Or they think that we're just attacking children and everybody who's straight. Women who come up to me and like, oh, well, now that I know you're gay, I don't want to undress in front of you. I'm like, hey, I'm not attracted to you. That happens. Are you attracted to every man you see? Of course not. I mean, I'm attracted to people. And I've been lucky. I've never been attracted to a straight woman. So that was nice. That helped.
What is the reaction of men to you? Or your reaction to men, either?
Well, I don't hate men. I don't have a problem with men. I mean, I was married for a long time. Men do not believe that I'm a lesbian. They just don't. I mean, and it's interesting because once they find out, they are in disbelief. They're like, yeah, right. Sure. Okay. And then the other side to that coin is, well, you haven't been with me. And I'm like, some of us are so lucky, you know. I mean,
in other words, they think that if you made love to them, you'd immediately declare, I'm not a lesbian.
Right. I'm now heterosexual. Thank you, God. I mean, that just isn't
Thanks for sending this human hetero to me.
That's right.
To change me.
This archangel.
You're just waiting to be converted.
That's it.
Next, 2 more very attractive women share their stories when we return. You're just joining us, meet Shelley, a performer who says, today she does this. Today is the day she decides to come out to the rest of the world. And this is Jocelyn, who produces videos. Shelley, if I use the word lesbian, just turn quickly and say lesbian. Yeah, you went like that. Did you do that for me, or was that really what went through your mind?
Oh, it used to be a lot. And right before the show, a couple days ago, I think I went like, what am I doing, you know? I've always been really out there, but I sort of went through a closet phase the last year or so.
Why?
Well, I was in this movie, The Virgin Machine, and I spent some time in Los Angeles, and I was seeing agents and doing the whole Hollywood rounds, and I got a lot of homophobic response. They liked my press skit, got great press, but when I went in there, it was like and a lot of dykes were in power, and a lot of gay men too, but it was like there was a homophobia, and I think it really caught on to me. And I was like, listen, I want to be mainstream. And
but they saw you and they said gay, 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 and they weren't thinking actress or anything else. They were thinking gay, 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 and that was a negative.
Well, maybe the material was a little bit too outrageous, too. But...
Okay. By the way, she says, you just used the word dyke.
Lesbian, dyke.
That's okay word?
Oh, yeah.
For us to use it.
It's a fun word.
Wait a minute. What do you mean for us to use it?
Well, I think it's like, you know, if black people want to call each other niggers, they can call each other niggers, but if a white person calls them a nigger, I don't think it's right. And it's the same thing with lesbians. You know, if you say, hey, you big dyke, and if a straight guy says, a bunch of dykes out there, I mean, you know, it doesn't feel right.
It's the intention behind it.
It's the tension behind it.
Right. It's whatever you mean.
Gee, I think that's very difficult, and I'm not so sure. I don't like black people using the word nigger any more than I like white people using the word nigger.
Neither do I. I think that's personal.
I don't see how you can say that a word is all right for somebody to say it because you're not carrying around a big sign. I can use the word dyke because I'm a dyke. You can, you know.
Right.
And therefore, it puts it into general vocabulary. Other people hear it. They don't know what you are, and they think that that's an acceptable, all right word.
Well, actually, there's a big difference between the word. For me, there's a big difference between the two words, dyke and nigger. I wouldn't call another black person that. It's my own personal feeling. But the word dyke is sort of has become this label, almost like an empowering label when we call each other that. You know, it's okay for us to call each other dykes. You know, and on some level, it even becomes fun. You know, as I have, well, Sally, I have to show this to you because this is something that I wear from time to time. And, you know, I'll wear this out on the street, you know, walking with friends, and it's interesting what happens.
What happens?
Well, sometimes people choose not to see it. A lot of people look at it in disbelief. Others will respond negatively or violently towards it. It all depends on where I'm walking, you know, and also who I'm walking with, you know. Yeah.
And how many of them there are with you.
That's right, that's right. Yeah.
I asked you how men react to you. How do other females who are homosexual react to you?
Whoa. That's a good one.
A lot of them are, okay, well, because I'm doing the stand-up comedy, I'm getting a lot of people who are doing that whole, oh, we're so proud you're doing this, because we're not going to come out. Because they can't, they have jobs, they have things, they have careers they have to worry about, and this is so great that you're doing this. Do you have to look so feminine? I did get that recently. Yes, I do. It's a fault, I guess.
In other words, there would be prejudice among female gays that you two have too much makeup on, or are dressed too well, or are too pretty, whatever pretty
They're afraid that you're trying to pass. It's not really that they care what you're wearing. I mean, I think that's very small. It's that they're afraid that you're trying to pass, and that therefore you are getting more privilege. I'm not sure, that it's sort of like there are some blacks who can look almost white. And I know that I've heard them have their little problem with that. I don't have any knowledge of that. But I mean, they're afraid that you're trying to pass, that you're trying to look like straight people, and therefore you're like sort of denying the community.
But for me, though, when I first came out, I had been married. So that was like a big no-no in the lesbian, you know, in the lesbian world. I mean, it was just like, don't trust her. You know, she's going to go back to a man kind of thing, and she'll break your heart and all this other kind of thing. I mean, it's like, please, get a grip, you know. But I mean, it was just like, why do you have to look so straight, you know? Why are you dressing like that? What's with the heels? I mean, where are the Reeboks or the Nikes, you know? And it's like,
So sometimes gays want you to fit into a stereotype that is their stereotype.
That's exactly right. And that was my point before with just treating people as people.
Yeah. I think, too, it all depends on, it's very personal. It really depends on your specific experience. You know, as for myself, the reaction to me from the gay community and lesbian community has been incredibly positive. And I think one of the reasons for that is that my own personal coming out experience, once I came out as a lesbian, I was so out, you know, on every level. I mean, you know, my mother called me like after I recently started this new relationship when I first came out as a lesbian. I mean, I hadn't talked to her in a really long time. She called me and she said, "Jocelyn, what's new?" And I said, "Oh, Mom, I'm in love." And she said, "With a woman." And I said...
How'd she know?
I don't know how she knew.
Okay, she just had that mother's...
She just sort of knew, and it didn't... I was really surprised that was her reaction, you know, because I had been in a relationship for 3 years. You know, there was marriage in the picture. We were going to move and, you know, all this great stuff. But after that relationship broke off, I broke off. You know, I went for another year without really getting serious with anyone, and then I saw this woman who I was so attracted to. It was incredible. It blew my mind, you know, and I just, like, went for it. And once that actually evolved into a relationship, I really felt so free. I felt so happy. I was like, wow, you know, I'm a lesbian, you know.
When you were younger and you heard the word lesbian, what did you think?
I'm a thespian, not a lesbian.
Oh, come on.
That's a scary word because it's not used a lot. It's a freaky word, lesbian. And
but as
so the more you do say it, the better it feels.
As somebody young, what was your image of what a lesbian?
Big bull dyke.
Was it?
Yeah, go to the bowling alley. You know, in Ohio, let's go to the bowling alley and see, you know, 2 tons of fun and whiskers and like scary and
that was it.
That was what you saw.
Oh, yeah. Gym teacher.
Feminine
yeah.
women.
It's really funny when
gym teachers.
Yeah. Definitely. Always.
Miss Bell.
You didn't do that in school? I thought that was like nationwide, that everybody would say, oh, gym teachers were all gay.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure mine was.
Teacher, lesbian or not, kind of thing. Really? And then if you found out through the grapevine that she was.
All right, Beef, I want to go and walk around in the audience, introduce you to some other people. We have a lot of things I think we may agree or disagree, or questions in the atmosphere of being rather open. I'm hoping people will put you guys to the test.
I'm sure they will.
But before I do that, I refuse to use the word dyke. Give me an acceptable word for a extremely makeup, hair, feminine
Lipstick
lesbian.
Lipstick lesbian.
A lipstick lesbian.
Or Cosmo dyke, but you don't like the word dyke.
I don't like the word
now.
dyke.
Why don't you like the word dyke?
I know, it's such a hot word.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
great. I
like
love
any
it.
word
So empowering.
that is
How about
pejorative.
Amazon? Lipstick Amazon.
How about what?
Amazon.
No.
Look at this. That's an Amazon.
Yeah, but I'm trying to differentiate an exceedingly what society would say is feminine from somebody who is not feminine. Give me those 2 words that you'll accept, and I'll go on your say-so.
Drop
femme
dead
is the
nice
word.
Femme.
And somebody who is more
Butch.
masculine. Okay, so we'll use femme and butch. We'll go into the
But
audience.
it's
We'll
much
be
more
right back.
Oh, my God.
Allow me to introduce Lisa Winters. Lisa says that femme, we just got that, lesbians, are invisible to both the lesbian and straight communities. So invisible, she says, she started a support group for femme lesbians. Lisa, you want to define the femme, and at what point do you have to use peroxide and lipstick to get into the femme organization?
Right from the start.
And why do you, or do you think they aren't accepted by either the straight or the gay communities?
Well, I could not define femme because I think that femme is really a self-definition. Femme means lots of things to lots of different people. For
As
myself,
does masculinity and femininity.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, I see femme as strong and assertive and powerful and aggressive, and also liking some feminine accoutrements or what have you. But I see femme as very self-defined, and I see it on a continuum. We were talking about butch femme I was hearing before, which I have a lot to say about, you know, starting this femme support group in 1988. But again, I see butch femme on a continuum with androgyny more or less in the middle. And there's lots of variations on that whole scale.
But today we're addressing the so-called femme lesbian. And do you feel that she meets with some kind of hostility from all communities? Or do you not? Do you think
Yes, absolutely. I think that femme gets hostility from the heterosexual world a lot because her primary emotional and sexual attachment is to other women. And that freaks men out. It's like they can't handle that.
And she's refusing to look like what the heterosexual community wants us to look like.
Right.
Oh, well, if you're going to be lesbian, at least look like something we can define.
Right.
Don't be attractive to men.
Right. Right.
If a femme lesbian, being kind of open, happens to be around in the world, aren't there straight men who fall in love with her? And isn't there a certain power in not caring?
That's interesting.
Interesting. I think that's very individual. I mean, you know, I don't know.
I have to wonder where a person is if that's the kind of empowerment.
That's sort of sad, yeah.
I mean, if you want to be on the upper hand and say, oh, I'm a lesbian, and wouldn't you just love to have me, you know?
Well, there's the dyke daddies.
What are dyke daddies?
Yes.
They're turned on to lesbians. They like lesbians.
Guys who like to hang
just
out
like
at the
fag
lesbian
hags.
bars.
Right.
There's dyke daddies.
Tell me about a dyke daddy.
Well,
Describe someone who might be, or in what case one might be a dyke daddy.
It's always like a straight man who makes himself really close to the lesbian community. They'll hang out at the bars and talk with them and be their friend. And wow, that's...
Take them to dinner.
Why
you
does
know,
he-
you need an escort.
why
You
does
know,
he
it's
do
kind of
that?
safe. It's a fantasy thing, you know. They don't really want to touch you. They only can get so close to you. That kind of a thing.
I think they also go for the challenge.
The challenge.
I think they're sitting back there going, maybe I'll convince this one.
yeah. Or,
Okay, and women who are attracted to gay males are called fag hags. And they have a lot of escorts.
well, they're going for something that they're not going to get, so that's their own, another problem, too. That's another show.
I would like to know, how did you get to like the same sex? Was it a bad relationship with a man that caused you?
Oh, I have to answer that. I have to answer that.
Okay.
Did you have a bad relationship with a woman and it made you heterosexual? I have
Wait, guys, hold on. I said that what we were going to do is allow anybody to say what they wanted to say and to treat that question with respect. I don't find... would you rather her sit here and wonder about that, or would you rather her ask it? I would rather her ask it. I think that's a perfect...
Who do you think's going to ask?
Okay,
But it was a
merely
good comeback.
explain it the way somebody would understand.
I'd like to address her
Well,
question.
it was
Okay,
fair
please
for her
do.
to ask that question, though, because, you know, just to
Yeah,
show,
but you
like,
can't get hostile.
how unfair.
You can't
that's
get
not
hostile
hostile,
at
though.
somebody who's...
If I may
That's not
address your
hostility.
question.
Please.
I think that it's really a matter of choice for each person. I know for myself, I really didn't want to look at the fact that maybe I could grow up and be a lesbian when I was younger. You know, I had this inner attraction for women, and it scared me. I mean, it scared me because I grew up in a household that was perverse. You didn't talk about that. There was something wrong with you. We were going to send you to a psychiatrist if you ever bring that up again, kind of thing. And I think that's what homosexuality ends up being. You know, it's not understood, and rightfully so. I mean, parents can't understand things like that. At first, you want your child to grow up and get married and be happy. For me, I wanted to have children, so I chose to get married and have children, and then ended that in my life, and went on to be with women, because that's what I really wanted to do. But that's my choice. You know, I think it's different for everyone.
I don't understand. I realize this goes on in the world, but why wear a hat that says dyke? I don't walk around with one that says straight. It seems to me you're flaunting it instead of explaining.
Yeah, right, you don't have to. The one thing, my response to that is, I mean, you know, everybody says, well, why do you have to advertise? It's not advertising, it's about visibility. You know, because right now, you know, not that I want you to know that I'm a lesbian, but I definitely don't want you to treat me like I'm a heterosexual either. You know, I want you, actually, I would like you to treat me as
you
Jocelyn.
the same, not caring what your sexual preference is.
No, but what I say is I don't want her to assume that I'm a heterosexual, you know.
Okay, I'm having trouble with that, but okay, you and I agree. I'm having trouble with it.
I just wanted to know, if, aside from Shelley, if anyone else, is this going to be a big surprise to some people in your life that you're coming out on this show, or does everyone know?
In my life, people at my job, I mean, their feelings are going to fall out of their mouth. You know, that's their worst nightmare. I mean, it's pretty scary. But my family knows. I mean, my children know, that kind of thing. My friends know. But the people on my job, it's okay that they know because of this show. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I think I will be treated differently.
Yeah, you're not worrying about repercussions of being fired or being harassed on the job?
I would love that.
Well, there's
Lawsuit
a law
time.
against
I would
that.
love
You
that.
can't be fired.
That's
There's
exactly
a law.
right.
You know.
Going along with the first woman's question, since we are so bombarded by stereotypes, help me with this one. Does a femme lesbian want a butch friend? Or could two femme lesbians be very happy together, two butch lesbians be very happy together, and all of that?
You got it. You got it. You got it.
It goes the whole, it crosses the gamut. I mean, that's one thing about the lesbian community is that we are constantly breaking down barriers that cause us to be sexually repressed. We're always breaking those down.
So and you know, it's like stereotypes is you're going to have, you're not going to have a masculine-looking and a feminine-looking person, or two feminine.
You can have that. You can have two quote-unquote masculine-looking women together. You can have two quote-unquote feminine-looking women together. There's one thing that I like to say is that I get the feeling like this whole panel here is assumably femme, whereas I identify as butch.
I identify very butch.
Yeah.
I do. I identify
so,
butch.
you know.
I'm a little more butch femme. They told us, you know, to wear our dresses. But I feel comfortable.
Out of the closet.
I feel comfortable in what I'm wearing as well.
I think it's important to say, as one of the self-identified femmes on the panel, attracted to butch women, that it's very important. There's a lot of pernicious stereotypes about butch women, and it's unfair. And they're grossly misrepresented, and I really want to get that across, that, you know, butch women were the ones who were leading the Stonewall riot. You know.
Before you think to yourself secretly, what a silly question, I'll go out on a limb for stereotypes.
Okay.
Although I think I know a lot of people in the male gay community, I have never met two tremendous, if you want to use the word drag or queen type, which I'm told is an acceptable word, and if I'm wrong, change me. I've never known two of those who were particularly enamored of each other. Think about that. We'll take a break. We'll come back.
Accommodations courtesy of Hotel Maclo, Midtown Manhattan's new luxury hotel. For reservations, call 1-800-MACLO.
Susan, I left a question to you on the table, having said that there were not a lot of terribly feminine male homosexuals, or I had never met any, and yet you're saying that's not true in the lesbian community. So the same or not the same? Or what do you think about that?
Gay men are just so different from gay women, just like straight men are so different from straight women. It's very hard to compare them that way. Okay. And you're right, though. I don't see it that often.
Okay, this question goes out to any one of y'all. All of y'all have changed liking women. Now, what can a woman do for you that a man can't?
Here's my list. Not get me pregnant.
I think, yeah, well, you can't get pregnant with a woman, that's true. I think that as far, in my personal experience as a lesbian, as a woman who loves women, who sleeps with women, having sex with a woman is great, okay? I've had sex with men, too. I mean, I've only been out for a year and a half, and prior to that, I'm 28 years old. Prior to that, I was in heterosexual relationships. You know, so, I mean, it's my personal experience. Women can do a lot more for me, I mean, to answer the question simply than men can. And they do, so, you know, we could get specific, but I won't do that.
It's more emotional.
My next guest.
Yeah, and it's
sensitive and emotional and women-y, you know? It's like, you breathe wrong, what's going on? You know, it's like, it's processing and talking. You always hear those heterosexual relationships like, I just can't talk to him, you know? I'm trying to talk to me. You know, so
women really
we talk a lot. It's a lot of communication.
You don't have to explain your menstrual cycle. You don't have to explain why you're miserable. You can't get pregnant.
One of the reasons why I'm a lesbian is because I'm more emotionally bonded with women.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, and that's a fair answer to her. Allow me, before we go into 3 days shows from now, to introduce my next guest, Dr. Marjorie Hill. She is director of the mayor of this city, New York, Office for Gay and Lesbian Affairs. Dr. Hill, how did people respond to you when you were appointed to this position?
Well, when Mayor Dinkins first appointed me, there were a number of people from both the gay and lesbian press as well as the straight press that said, it's incredible, but you're so pretty. And I said, thank you. But pretty does not mean incompetent. Pretty does not mean that one is not bright or capable or a good administrator. And that's a stereotype that is perpetuated in our society. Vis-a-vis, look at how many women are on talk shows. Certainly we are competent. This is a fine example of a good show. Why aren't there more women shows? Why aren't there more women broadcasters? Well, it's because society is sexist.
By the way, if you think there are, she's statistically really correct. If you take all the radio and television stations, it still doesn't amount to something like 7%. So you're correct.
And the issue around lesbian visibility, lesbian and gay visibility, is even more strikingly
Are there people who do
abysmal.
not think that a black can be a lesbian?
There are numerous people who think that. I went to a meeting. I meet with deputy mayors and commissioners as part of my responsibility, and I was meeting with Deputy Mayor Mullen, who's Deputy Mayor of Public Safety. Went in and signed my name and so forth, and the security officer who was outside, mayoral appointee, said, oh, you work for the mayor's office? Which office do you work for? And I said, oh, I'm director of the office for the lesbian and gay community. And he said, well, you're not... And I said,
Quick question. Okay, for one, you didn't answer the question what the girl asked you. What could a man do for you that a woman, you know, what can a woman do? And another question, when God made, you know, Adam and Eve, it wasn't Eve and Jane, it was Adam and Eve. Recognize.
To respond to that. Yeah. The issue around sexual preference and orientation has been studied through psychologists for centuries, and that sexual orientation, many people believe, is at birth. And the only reason why many people don't express it more is because of social stereotypes. Yes. I am a lesbian and proud to be a lesbian because I bond with women in a particular kind of way. That is where I feel the most comfortable. I don't hate men. I have some close male friends. But there is something very special for me about my connection with other women. And because of that, that's who I decide to be with sexually and emotionally.
Quick question.
My question is to Shelley, the lady with the 2 children. How old were your children?
Shelley.
Oh, I'm sorry, this lady. How old were your children?
Alexis.
And what were their reaction to your lifestyle?
When you divorced and fell in love with a woman.
Okay.
The children were how old?
The children were 4 and 7, and now they're 12 and 15. And actually, their reaction to this was they were angry at first. And I let them be angry. I really believe in not telling people how they should feel or what they should think, that kind of thing. It was interesting, though. My son, like when I ended up telling him, he was about 11, and he said to me, Mother, why didn't you tell me sooner? And we both cried, and he said, you know, Grandma knows and Granddad knows and everyone knows but me, you know. I love them more than life itself, and I guess maybe I'm patting myself a little bit on the back, and their father too, because maybe we did something right. We're treating them as people, and thank God they're treating us back.
We'll take a break. How did your families take it? What kind of question does Mom and Dad ask when you say I'm a lesbian?
What did we do wrong? What did we do wrong?
When I first came out, I was in my 3rd year of graduate school, and my mother said to me, I love you, but you're going to quit school. And I said, no, I'm not going to quit school. And she said, fine, go to bed.
She said what? Go to bed. My father... my father's response was, well, you know, I want you to be happy. I don't really think you can be happy this way. When I initially told him, he thought that, he said, oh, I think the idea is titillating, you know. And, you know, like a typical male response to the idea of 2 women together. And you know, but I don't think he really believed me when I first told him. And then when I later went home and spoke with him, I made a videotape actually about, you know, his feelings about my being a lesbian. It was really... very interesting.
Do your parents ever ask, how do you do it?
Yes.
And if so, what's your reaction?
I kind of say to them, well, you know, there's a thing called imagination.
Right.
If you don't have it, I feel sorry for you. But, you know, a lot of people ask that question. I think they just don't know.
I have a question for Alexis.
Yes.
Before you got married, were you in a relationship with another woman?
No.
And number two, was your husband kind of shocked about this when he found out, or did he suspect all along?
I think that towards the end of our marriage, he definitely suspected something was going on. I had become friends with another woman, and I was spending a lot of time with her, and he kind of just confronted me on it.
Question?
I just want to applaud all of you women up there, and especially Alexis and Suzanne, because I think what you're doing is great, because I think everybody should know out there that everybody's like everybody else, and stop putting labels, and just don't assume somebody's some way, and don't, you know, patronize them because they are.
Thank you.
Marjorie, one of the questions that came up is, why are there not more glamorous lesbians when talk shows do lesbians?
But there are.
Well, when we call, we get the answer that a lot of glamorous lesbians are in the closet. It would jeopardize
Their
them
careers.
for coming
Yes.
on, and therefore we would have to work tremendous.
They're models.
I think
I
think the response is twofold. One, if your connections in the community as not a lesbian, someone who doesn't know the community, to look for the more, where do you go? You go to the community center, you
Yes,
go to a
that's what I
bar,
said,
you walk up to someone and you say, will you be on the show? If, in fact, you call the mayor's office of lesbian and gay community, or you call Bronx lesbians and you say, who's available, you would get a much broader spectrum vis-a-vis who you have here. The second is that these women are very courageous because society is still not ready for lesbians. They're not ready for white lesbians. They're not ready for lesbians of color. And we're getting it ready. I have a job. I am paid to go and advocate for lesbian and gay rights.
We'll take a break. Marjorie, you said a sentence on violence.
That violence against lesbians and gays has increased to 107% in New York City and across the country. As a lesbian, as a public lesbian, I'm at risk. So why should I come on your show and make myself more vulnerable? Well, these women did it because they felt the cause was important, but safety is an important issue and concern.
Right. That's about wearing a dyke hat. It's the same. Yeah. Goes in the same category.
I want you to know that we're everywhere, and we're just like you, and we're not like you, just like anything else. Don't beat us up because we're homosexuals. Please. Hate us, be mad at us, love us, but don't hit us.
How do you feel about outing? Are you aware of it, and how do you feel about it? Because I'm personally against it 100%.
I would say that most gays would definitely say they are for it if someone is trying to hurt us who is a homosexual in order to promote their career. But that's such a tough thing because of what will happen. For example, violence. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you my lover's name and my friend's name. They've all even told me not to because of what happens. Yet at the same token, if we could all just come out, and you saw that we are presidents at IBM, that we are nurses and mothers and teachers and old and young and all these different things, maybe then the violence would stop. So it's a push. We want so much for that violence and things to stop.
Point taken. We'll take a break.
For a transcript of this program, send $3 to Transcripts, Sally Jessy Raphael, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007. Or call 212-227-READ.
I think Marjorie's right. I think a great deal of debt to all of you for coming by. And this is not easy. You know, you are going to get some kind of wild questions. Shall we call it one more little step for people kind? Yes. Would that be all right? Yes, thank you. Beautiful. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Some members of our audience will receive, and a promotional fee has been provided by
Advanced Formula Centrum, a high-potency multivitamin multimineral formula with beta-carotene. Centrum, more complete, from A to zinc.
New Dynatrim, the delicious weight loss plan complete with nutritional support from the makers of Centrum. Only Dynatrim lets you shake it, freeze it, or mousse it. Try Dynatrim and lose yourself in the taste.
Now you can make wrinkles and puffiness seem to disappear with sudden change. In just minutes, see the years smoothed away. Sudden change. You look years younger in minutes.
Paul Mitchell Professional Salon Products. Luxurious hair care and styling tools. Paul Mitchell. Your style demands it.